This is not going to be a massively popular video, but I wanted to get something off my chest, or something that's been bugging me for quite some time. And I just know from what I've seen that there's going to be a whole load of people that just disagree with me, and certainly explain why they have the opposite opinion. But it's something I've noticed all throughout this window, and I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seems to be that the transfer window and the linking of players and all of the frustration that sort of goes with it seems to have become almost more powerful than what the team do on the pitch. This is going to, excuse me, it's going to be a bit of a mishmash of a video, because I've got a lot of things sort of going around in my head. I just, sort of pick up on a number of them, really. I think the first one was the last game we played against Newcastle, which was amazing. I mean, it's fantastic. I think the first thing I thought about that was we'd have enjoyed that game a whole lot more had that game not have happened in the transfer window. Now, if you remember, just before the game, PAI Capital had released a statement, or they basically tweeted on their official Twitter account suggesting that they were going to make a second bid for the club. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a bad move. I thought it was really, really poorly advised. And it was a news story. It was a proper West Ham news story. But if you remember, I said, I don't want to talk about this now. And even the next day, I just didn't particularly want to go into it. So I left it a day before discussing it. And the reason was I didn't really want it to interfere with the joy of the game. I didn't want that nonsense to interfere with the game. The game was most important, which is exactly what I was critical of PI Capital for doing, which is, being so wrapped up in their own takeover bid, they actually forgot there was a game of football at West Ham going on. I also thought it was quite nice. I was pleased to be back, pleased that the football was back on, but thrilled that we'd sort of started this season the way we'd finished the last one. So I thought, actually, the transfer stuff and the frustrations around the club would go on the back burner for a little bit. But there was no real honeymoon period, I've got to say. And it was almost, okay, enjoy the victory, then straight back to the anger, if you want. And I don't mean particularly on this channel, I've got to say, because actually, when I did yesterday's video, there were a lot of people disagreeing with me on there, but I thought everyone, did it really well. No one was rude, no one was nasty, a difference of opinion, and that's great. It wasn't particularly angry. I think you're a good crowd, basically. I think it's really important you can have an exchange of opinion and not get angry. But I think in other areas, certainly in other platforms, I noticed that there's a lot of anger around. And I just thought that was quite... I find it difficult, and I find it a little bit weird. And I'll tell you why, because I'm not used to West Ham being this good. And because I'm not used to West Ham being this good, I'm quite happy at the moment with what I see on the pitch. We'll get onto the other bit in a minute, because actually the anger and the frustration is not over anything that's happened. It's what will happen if players get injured. We don't have enough depth, right? So, but let's just deal with that in a second. It's hard to remember a time when we were good consecutively. So I mean, the second part of the season after lockdown, David Moyes' second stint at the club. Crap against Wolves, weren't we? And then that's it, we went on this run. We were fantastic. And we spent the whole of last season fantastic, right? And I'm not used to that. And then we go into this season and we managed to retain our manager, who appears to be, I think, the best manager we've had in a long time. And it looks really, really good. And I look at the team, and I've got so much focus on the team and the way we're playing. I'm really enjoying it. Yet there's this, I think it's double-edged. Actually, I think it's triple-edged, actually. He's a wrestler, isn't he? I think it's the takeover stuff. I think it's the dislike of the owners, David Sullivan in particular. And then I think it's the frustration with the transfers. But all those things seem to have come together. And they just seem to carry almost more weight than what the team are doing, not just on the pitch in the last game, but what they've done over the last 18 months, 2 years. And I do wonder, I don't think, put it this way, last season, apart from, look, some history in, the very start of the 80s and the 70s, certainly, this is about as good as it gets for West Ham. What's happening now, right now, is as good as it gets. And I'm a little bit not worried because I'm sort of enjoying it, but I'm a little bit mindful and thinking, well, hold on, this good stuff may well pass us by without us really enjoying it. I think the team at the moment is comparable, if not better, to the team under Bilic in the last season at Upton Park. And I just felt, I think maybe because it was the last season at Upton Park, we sort of soaked that up a bit more and we enjoyed that. But at the moment, it's almost as if, as a fan base, we're sort of lurching from one drama to the next, when actually you can understand David Moyes' comments the other day. So David Moyes' comments were pretty much, oh, I think the fans are happy at the moment. Now, you've got to look at this as a perspective for somebody that's not on social media. I doubt David Moyes watches a single YouTube video, is on social media at all. I get the impression that when he's not doing his football stuff, he probably spends his time with his family, and he's not really involved in all that. He doesn't spend every minute checking his phone and stuff like that. And there's a certain naivety to him thinking the fans are happy. But in many respects, why wouldn't he think the fans would be happy? Why wouldn't you, looking at the outside, look at West Ham? And I mean this, we've had this many times, by the way. I remember it under Allardyce. People saying, oh, be careful what you wish for and stuff like that. I remember Newcastle at their worst certainly saying, the Newcastle fans, I mean, certainly saying, well, hold on a second, you think you've got it bad, you want to see what it's like under Ashley. I don't understand people looking in, and certainly last season when there was disgruntlement, there were a lot of people outside the club saying, what are you lot moaning about? You know, look, you're up in fourth, you're in fifth, or whatever the case may be. And the truth of the matter is the story is a little bit more detailed than that, and people looking in don't quite understand. But I can understand that they don't understand, if you know what I mean. I can understand why David Moyes would assume that the fans are happy. As far as he's concerned, he's doing a good job. As far as he's concerned, he's taken West Ham to a level that we're not usually at. It's as simple as that. I would also assume, because I expect everybody that's good at their job to be confident. I expect that. I think if you're a shrinking violet, and I think if you don't have confidence in your own ability, you're probably not going to be the best at something. And David Moyes is one of the best managers in the Premier League. So not only does David Moyes thinks he's done well last season, David Moyes probably thinks he's done well all his whole West Ham career, both stints. He's probably quite certain that he can take us forward, that he'll do well this season. So no wonder he thinks, well, hold on, the fans are surely happy. And then you look at a lot of the stuff that's online, which is everybody saying, well, they're not happy, you need to pull your finger out, you need to sort it out. And there was a comment yesterday which certainly was, David Moyes needs to give us an explanation why he hasn't signed anyone. Now, I would agree with that to a point. I don't think we need an explanation now, though. I think if the worst happens and we don't sign anyone and Antonio gets injured, and as a result West Ham's form starts to dip, so those three things, basically, those three ducks line up, then I think I would like to know why. And I would like to be in the press conference to actually say to David Moyes, say, well, this was a little bit predictable. Why didn't you sign anyone? I would like to ask that question. But I don't feel the question needs to be asked now because none of those three things have happened yet. Because it's not the end of the transfer window. No one has got injured. And we don't know what the contingency is. Just in the same way that we didn't know what the contingency was last January, when everyone was crying out for a striker. And I want a striker, don't get me wrong, I really want a striker. But last season, when it got to January, people were saying, we need a striker, we need a striker. And David Moyes stood and he said, look, I'm after somebody. If I can't get the right person, I'm going to save the money. Yes, I know, we want him to spend the money now. And I understand the argument, he's had a lot of time to look at this. But he said, I'm going to bring in Jesse Lingard. He can play a number of positions. He can play as a false nine, he can play here, there, and there, and he can score goals. And I mean, the beauty of doing the Hammers Chat stuff is you can go back and it's all archived. You can look at what we said. You can look at the comments that were made underneath. And I think it's fair to say there weren't too many people, myself included, by the way, who were overjoyed at the thought of bringing Jesse Lingard in. And I think a lot of us didn't believe that the team would be able to score goals. And surely that's the most important thing, right? Is that the team can still score goals. Does it really matter if it's technically a striker that's scoring a minute? No, I don't think so. And actually, David Moyes was proved to be right. And I would suggest, actually, that it wasn't the lack of a striker that cost us that Champions League place, and it is ridiculous that we were discussing even West Ham being in with a chance of Champions League, I actually think it was the injury to Declan Rice. So actually, if I was going to hang my hat on any lack of squad depth, it would actually be that there wasn't sufficient cover for Declan Rice. But even then, I think what he did to change Manuel Lanzini's position, again, would probably have been enough. But then Lanzini got injured as well. And I think, you know, you look at it, well, that's going to hurt a club of West Ham size, isn't it? Losing 2 central midfielders in the running. I think it's that cost us it. But it was a good season. And it was an enjoyable season. And so you fast forward to where we are now, which is we're looking all right. We look good again. We look really, really decent. Yet still there's this animosity. I don't, maybe animosity is the wrong word. I understand people being angry with David Sullivan. I was angry with David Sullivan today, by the way. I was clearing out, as you know, I might be extending the man cave. I was clearing out the shed to try and make a little bit of space to get rid of some crap in there. And when I was there, I've got my old Upton Park. It's not my seat, but I've got a seat from Upton Park in there, which hopefully I tend to get somebody to actually make it into a seat that folds up. I've got the plastic bit. It's got the bum bit, got the back bit, right? And that made me angry. I thought, you know, Sullivan, how dare you? How dare you not give every one of the fans access to take these seats? How dare you charge 50 quid for these things? How dare you blow up Upton Park in a film that you were producing to try and get an explosive scene with a WWE wrestler running round Upton Park, shooting the place up, then blowing it up. And you see the state of it, our spiritual home and the place where people have had their ashes scattered there. I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was disgusting to try and monetise something in terms of the seats in the stadium and even the corrugated iron and all that stuff, which he had owned for a very, very small period of time. That was our stuff. That was West Ham stuff. That was our stuff as fans. So I'm not talking about animosity towards that. There are reasons to dislike David Sullivan, and you'll all have your own individual ones, and they are numerous. That being said, I still think, so animosity is the wrong word, but there's just this negativity around the team and around the club at the moment, at a time when we're doing well. And I did wonder, why is that more powerful? Why is the anger around the team and the frustration more powerful than the joy of actually having a good team for the first time in a long, long time, by the way? And I would argue we're on our way to being the most consistent West Ham have been in my lifetime. In my lifetime, 47 years of age, right? I mean, I remember Cotty and McAvenny and you know, a really, really good team. George Parrish, one of my favourite players. I know he wasn't well beaten, but I enjoyed that team. But it wasn't, and you know, particularly under John Lyall. But we were inconsistent. We would get relegated and stuff, right? So I look at it now and I think, why is the joy from this team not superseding the frustration with not bringing the players in? Why has the transfer window got so important? This need to bring a player in, any player, and bring him in now. And I know it's not everyone, by the way. I really know that. I can see, as I say, from the comments, you know, there's a lot of people saying, well, hold on, let's just wait and see, and let's actually trust Moyes. The trouble is with mantras and cliches is you say them enough times, they lose their meaning. So people say, in Moyes we trust enough times, it just becomes a cliche. It becomes a platitude. It becomes something that's just said, actually, rather than thinking, well, actually, this is probably a guy who, looking at his record, his managerial record, probably does deserve a bit of trust. This is what I was trying to say yesterday. I think we have to assume that Moyes and Pearce and Nolan know what they're doing. And that's why that's why I'm not overly concerned yet about the lack of transfers, because I think they'll sort it out. I think they'll fill the squad at least to a point where they can get to January. And if we do that and we get up there and actually we're in January and we're in the top half of the table, then we're still doing well comparatively to how West Ham have done. We're still doing well. Is that pushing up to the next level, which is what Golden Sullivan promised us to move to the stadium to constantly challenge for the top 4 or whatever. No, it's not. But that's a different thing. I think they've completely failed in that. And you look at the top 10, not the top 10, you look at the 10-point pledge that those owners gave at the time. I think they failed on that. But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about, bearing in mind the situation we're in, how good the team are. And the team can give a lot of joy. Even poor old David Moyes, who's got a reputation, I think, for being a bit of a dour defensive coach, we score lots of goals. We really do. I think we're quite entertaining. In a lot of the games, we're quite entertaining. I think during his first stint, I guess he was firefighting. Not so much. I think we didn't have that much possession and stuff. But I think now we play good football. I do. I really do. I love some of our passing moves. I think we can go through the middle. I think we can go out wide. I think we've got a lot of ways that we can score a goal. And I think it's incredibly enjoyable. And I look back at it and I just wonder if it's an overkill of information. And when I say an overkill of information, I am aware of the irony that we play into this. We're part of this by doing a YouTube channel. But I just wonder if you can have too much. One of my favourite transfer surprises, if you like, and there are very few transfer surprises these days, was I'd gone down to my mum's for the weekend, and I'd been out on the town the night before, so I'd obviously slept in. And Mum came upstairs. I was staying in my old room, and Mum came upstairs with a cup of tea, and gave me a shake, and she said, "I just thought you'd like to know that Sky Sports News is on downstairs, and West Ham have signed somebody." She said, "Have you heard of some players called Tevez and Meshka something?" So I woke up really quickly. As you can imagine, that was wonderful. So I love that part of the transfer window, but there was a surprise in that. And the more I thought about it, I thought, particularly when Dharmesh was saying the other day about, he was assuming, I like the way he assumed I was too young to remember what teletext and CFAX was, which was very, very, I'm sorry, he was just flattering me there. But I do remember, and I do remember Club Call, and I do remember the old-fashioned way, and I remember buying Olas over Land and Sea. And you basically had 2 weeks to read that magazine, and then once it was gone, and I used to read every single word in that magazine. But once it was over, that was gone. Once you'd looked at CFAX, it was gone. There was nothing else to do. You had to leave West Ham. You literally had to park West Ham because there was no more information. You would read the paper, you'd get what you could, but it wouldn't consume your whole day. And it was something somebody said the other day, and it was on the comments, and I can't remember. I'm sorry, mate, I can't remember exactly who it was. But he said he refreshes his phone constantly throughout the day to see if West Ham had signed anyone, and he's frustrated that they haven't. And I know that's not any different for anyone, by the way. We all do it. I check my phone for West Ham stuff, obviously. But I thought, whoa, okay, well, what were we doing before? Well, we weren't doing that. Well, if we weren't doing that, what were we doing? Well, we were doing something else. I mean, I don't know what we were doing. We were watching a film, we were reading a book, we were out, we were talking about something else. But West Ham had not become this all-consuming thing. They used to say West Ham was a way of life. Well, yes. Go West Ham, home and away. Arrange your holiday time around West Ham. Get together with your mates and talk about West Ham. But there was other time in your life that there was no West Ham because it just wasn't there. There was no internet. There was none of this stuff. And I just wonder if we're in a situation now where it is almost 24/7 West Ham. And it's been I think it's been a bit of an evolution on that. Because before that wasn't 24-hour West Ham, it's 24-hour football and then phone-ins and 24-hour news and all of that sort of thing. And now we're at a point where I think you're almost at maximum saturation, 24-hour West Ham. So I think all these little things you get worked up over. So there could be a player we've had no interest in whatsoever, someone on some distant website somewhere, caught offside. I'm not blaming them. I just use that as the first website that pops into my head. Could say, I'm going to make something up now. West Ham are going to make an £8 million bid for Shaqiri from Liverpool. Right? Something like that. And then another website picks up on it, another website picks up on it. Then all of a sudden the conversation on social media and in the comments and everything else is, about Shaqiri from Liverpool. What do you think? I think he'd be a good player. I don't think he'd be any good. I think he's past it. No, I think he's really good. I can see him playing well with this player and that player. And then all of a sudden everyone starts getting more and more invested in that story. And then we don't get Shaqiri because we never bloody were anyway. And everyone's like, I can't believe it, we haven't got Shaqiri. And it's... I don't know. I just find it really, really difficult. I really do all the negativity that surrounds it, and not just for that. I think I've had a crap 18 months, to be perfectly honest with you, just in my personal life, and I think West Ham has to be an escape, a hobby. And the irony is, it's not a hobby anymore. This is what they, doing the videos as a job for us, and it's a job I love. I mean, really, best job I've ever had. Don't get me wrong. But it's got to be a release. It's got to be an escape. I can't come on here every day. Oh, I can't believe it. Not signed Shaqiri, or whatever the case may be. Because actually, it's not just me. Lots of people through lockdown and have lost people and lost jobs and lost everything. And actually, you know what? Your family and everything else is so important, isn't it? And it comes to West Ham, I just can't get on here every day just as angry as the day before that we've not signed anyone. I only say that because somebody asked me on the comment very politely, absolutely asked why I wish I could be as optimistic as you. Well, you know what? It's not that I'm overly optimistic. I'm not going to let it get me down just yet, because I've spent the whole transfer window and the whole summer being down by West Ham, and it goes back to that comment, which is, I know it. West Ham are not going to sign anyone, and West Ham are going to get relegated. I can't do that. As I said to you before, we'll get to the end of the transfer window. If you haven't, I will then worry. If we then get to the end of the transfer window and we start to get an injury crisis and that costs us points, then okay. Then I think, there's going to be certainly questions to answer. I will be disappointed, and I'll be really annoyed after we've lost a game. Because I do get really annoyed. I'm going to get a right after we've lost a game. But I get really happy when we've won a game, and just that sort of happiness. That's just the way I might be wrong, but just the way I look at it, that happiness that you get after a game seems to be getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Hey, great win, really, Antonio was brilliant, Ben Ryan was brilliant, everyone was brilliant. Oh, where are the signings? And look, I don't know. I don't know, maybe, just maybe, Moyes knows what he's doing. I don't think David Sullivan, by the way, has got the money to take the club forwards in terms of where we would like it to be, which is top four. I don't think so. I think we're quite lucky in as much as we have a manager who possibly can manage without the money. So actually, if he doesn't get a striker, he can do something like last season when he did with Lingard. If he misses a central midfielder, I will turn Lanzini into one. So I think we've seen that. He will turn Arnautovic into a striker. He will turn Antonio into a striker. He will turn Aaron Cresswell into a centre half, and on it goes, So I think we're quite lucky we've got a manager like that. Would David Moyes have liked Tammy Abrahams? Yes, I think he probably would. Has David Sullivan given him what he wants? No, but I think there's so little money, and I don't know how much there is. I think if David Sullivan had bought Tammy Abrahams for David Moyes, I think there would have been no more money left. I think that would have been it. And I just wonder if Moyes, he looks at it and thinks, I'm not sure. I think there might be a bit of dither there in him. But then you look at the other things, and you look at Connor Coventry, and you look at some of the other players coming through, and you look at what he's done with Ben Johnson and whatnot, and you think, well, maybe, just maybe, he is keeping his powder dry until January. I don't think that is the case, by the way. That was just a theory of mine the other day. I'm not convinced, but I just don't think that they would let it get past the transfer window without bringing anyone in. I think some players are coming in. And they might not be the players that everybody wants, what I said yesterday. But if the team continue to do well, and we look like we're going to go and have back-to-back good seasons, almost go and have like 2.5 good seasons in a row, which we just don't do, does it matter if you... I don't know if we're interested in Origi, but does it matter if it's Origi that comes in and actually when he plays well? It doesn't matter, does it? Does it matter that it's not Tammy Abraham? Did it matter last season? Let's be fair, Dawson was pretty damn good last season. In the end, did it matter that it wasn't Tarkowski? It didn't. I'm not sure Tarkowski would have been as good as Dawson last season. Is David Sullivan giving David Moyes all the backing he probably wants or needs? No, I don't think he is. I really don't think he is. Can someone else come in and do better? Yeah, I certainly believe so. I'm not convinced that this lot are the ones that come and do better, but certainly, because I don't know. I just don't think he's got the money to purchase the players as fans we want. However, I do think we've got a good manager. And just my point is, all that other stuff, the season's started now, and we're probably going to come loose to Leicester. Leicester now, not side anyone. But I think the thing is, we go into Leicester, or I go into Leicester, in a positive mindset. I go into Leicester thinking, hold on, and Leicester are a really good team, by the way, but I think about Leicester and think, actually, we can go there, go there, it's West Ham. We can play that game and we can beat them. And why shouldn't I think that? Because Leicester, as bloody good as they are, we beat them twice last season. Twice. Whooped them, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think that quickly gets forgotten. We do have a good team. I think we've got a good manager. And I'm just explaining. I think I'm explaining myself. I'm gonna leave it there. I told you it'd be a bit of a mishmash. I'll be interested to see, what you think about that. I'm aware that there's a lot of people who are just enjoying the game. So I'm not throwing this out there at everyone. But I do look at it, and I think it makes me a little bit sad, to be honest with you. When I look, and I think that's a real shame, because this is a time to enjoy watching the team. You can be annoyed with the board, you can be annoyed that we've not made any signings, but this is a time to enjoy the team. It ain't always going to be like this, and in the future it won't be like this. And I just wonder if you might look back and think, well, hold on a second, that time we qualified for Europe, we played in Europe, we had a manager who was capable of putting out teams that would put 3 and 4 goals sometimes past players. We had skillful teams, we had skillful players. And we didn't really soak it up and enjoy it as much as we could have done.